Hi there, Allison here with another Cab Franc du jour. Today we are in Chinon and we're looking at the Joguet 2008 Les Varennes du Grand Cru, Chinon. This is one of Joguet's top wines from the left bank of Chinon, and it is a little bit of an older vintage as well. And I think actually this might be the first in a series of a couple videos I do featuring some older examples of Cabernet Franc. I've been in this perpetual state of reflection of late. I've got a big birthday coming up, and I always tend to get a little bit pensive in the days leading up to my birthday. And I just thinking about aging and the passage of time and my accomplishments and failures of the last year, and what I want to achieve in the months and years to come. And looking at older wine is really, for me, a great opportunity to kind of look inward. Wine is a snapshot of a place. It's a snapshot in time. And, it gives us a chance to kind of sit back and think, well, where was I during during this year, and was I even alive? What was going on in the world? And I just really love looking at older examples of wine for this reason. And so let's let's get into it. So as I said, we are on the left bank of the Vienne River here in the commune of Sazilly, and this is essentially one of two kind of home vineyards, if you will, for Joguet, the other being Clos de la Dioterie. Les Varennes du Grand Cru is essentially, it's 4.5 hectares, and it's kind of an extension, sort of, if you will, of Clos de la Dioterie. The vineyard itself, it was purchased in 1962, partially replanted between 1962 and 1976. I believe there's still a block in the ground that was planted in the 1920s. The vineyard itself slopes gently towards the Vienne River, so to the north and kind of slightly northeast, and we're on the bedrock of the Lower Turonian tuffeau chalk. And I talk about the Turonian tuffeau chalk all the time, but this is the oldest of the Turonian tuffeaus, and then we have the Middle Turonian tuffeau and then the Upper Turonian tuffeau kind of layers on top of that. So this particular chalk is an argillaceous chalk, and this means that it has sort of a higher clay content in it, kind of similar to marl in a way. And then there is also silica minerals in the chalk as well, and a trace amount of iron minerals as well. The topsoil here varies a little bit depending on where you are in the vineyard. Towards the top of the slope, we have more of a silicious clay, and then towards the bottom of the slope, where we've seen a little bit more of erosion over time, we have a bit more of a sandy, gravelly mix. Now, the vintage, 2008, it was not an easy vintage by any stretch of the imagination. There was frost in April, flowering was difficult, and then the summer was cool and it was wet. The vintage was saved, however, by a really fantastic September. It was warm, it was sunny, it was dry, and that allowed the vines to kind of catch up from that abysmal summer. Yields were down slightly. Overall harvest was a little bit later than usual, but everything that I've read in terms of this vintage has indicated that the wines will have some good aging potential for sort of that medium to longer term, just because of the acidity and structure in the wines. Now, for this particular wine, in terms of in the cellar, the fruit was all 100% destemmed, and it was there was a 10-day cold soak leading up to alcoholic fermentation, and then it was on skins for about 4 weeks with some regular kind of punch downs and pump overs for extraction purposes, and then it was transferred into French oak barrels, or 1 to 3 year old French oak barrels, for 15 to 16 months. And it did spend some time kind of coming together in vat before it was bottled. So let's get into it. I love the perfume of older wines, older Cab Franc in particular. There is some beautiful kind of primary, still some fresh fruit elements to this wine. Getting a little bit of strawberry, there's some cherry here, there's a little bit of raspberry, there's kind of even that craisins, dried sweetened cranberries as well. And then you get into that evolution, which I love. I'm getting some licorice notes, there's a bit of milk chocolate here, there's a touch of mushroom as well. And the pyrazines are beautifully in balance. They kind of take a little bit of a backseat, but there is like this definitive cedar wood, a little bit of cigar box, kind of cured tobacco thing going on as well, which I just absolutely adore. On the palate, great, fresh, cleansing acidity. And then all those fruits come through beautifully, and they're very similar to the nose, a little bit more evolved on the palate than they were on the nose. A touch of plum kind of in there too. There's even there's a nice spice element on the palate, kind of a clove note, which I didn't quite get on the nose. The tannins, there are a lot of tannins here, but it's perfectly in balance with how the fruit is sort of enveloping them. Tannins are firm, they're very velvety in the mouth, and they kind of hug the tongue, and they really do feel the mouth. There's a wonderful mouthfeel to this wine in terms of the texture. It's round, it's full, it does have this sort of like grand presence in the mouth, which I really like. The overall structure of this wine, and this is really about the structure here, it's regal, it's assertive, it's sturdy, but it's not over the top. There's this seamlessness, there's a harmoniousness to the wine. It's superbly balanced. Like the concentration of the fruit, the tannin, the acid, like this is an impeccably beautiful wine. It does have, like I said, it does have this sort of regal kind of stance to it, but at the same time, it's not pretentious. It has this sort of warmth to it, this sort of effusiveness, which makes it kind of a bit more approachable than what you might think, I guess. But this is the first time I've had this wine from Charles Joguet. I have a few other bottles from other vintages, which I look forward to holding on to. But if you have a favorite example of an older Chinon or an older Cab Franc that you've absolutely loved from memory, let me know what it is in the comments below. And of course, as always, I will be back again soon with another wine. Cheers.